everybody? Welcome back to another Tucker Tuesday. What's going on out there, chat? Happy Tuesday. Hope everyone's having a lovely, lovely day out there today, and I'd like to just get out in front of this right now and let you know I have upset tummy today. I told a little bit of a fib on Friday, and for this, I apologize. I said it'd be the last time any Christmas donations are on over here, but I was not expecting Saturday, Sunday, Monday to be as absolutely chaotic as it was. I think I was home for maybe a total of 7 or 8 hours the whole time. Good Lord, I didn't have time to go through and do what I wanted to do with the regular donos, so I figure I should have time between now and Friday to get everything squared away that I need to there. So I apologize, but we have one last day with Christmas donos on. If I don't get it done Friday, we'll have it... no. Well, we were going to want the regular ones for New Year's, I guess. I'll have to have it done Friday. I'll have to have it done Friday. Christmas doesn't end until the 6th. Look, man, I don't need any more excuses to be lazy. On top of... just being straight up honest, on top of not a great Christmas, you know, it's been very emotional. I only cried like 3 times. It's been a very emotional weekend. It's been a hard time. It's been a little bit of a hard time. But we're here, and we just got to keep trucking, man. Not feeling good the past since Christmas Day, actually. I haven't been feeling good. Everybody's fucking sick. Nothing you can do about that, though. I got wasted and made G's house payment Saturday. Hey, man. Zach, you could join the McKinley Club over here if you're just throwing that shit around, my dude. Get any Dragon Ball stuff? Yeah, I got a dope little Master Roshi t-shirt from Miss Sin, but it's a very scant Christmas all the way around. I didn't ask for anything. Miss Sin and I did a little gift exchange. It's been a rough past couple of days. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. You know, it's the first Christmas without Mom. I can't even fucking say it, dude. So yeah, it's been interesting. But then we got sick, and it is a whole fucking thing. It's a whole motherfuck thing. But anyway, we're not here to listen to my woes. I am feeling better today. I was feeling better today. I ate a Chantel amount of food yesterday, so all I ate this morning was a couple of pieces of fish from Sunday, and then we did, because, you know, we're Italian, we do the Feast of the Seven Seas. Like, it's easy to deal with, but it never goes away. I believe it. Sorry. And then added pie and, you know, Christmas cookies, all that shit to it. Then today I'm like, oh, I'm not really hungry, but I know I need to fucking eat something. And I'm still not feeling great, so I ate some of the fish from Sunday and mac and cheese.
Well, they still got that drip and wave. Oh.
Donation's fucking stupid. It's stupid. One of the Rugrats gave me something. Dude, Miss Sin, literally from... On Christmas Day, from morning until showtime, she just stayed in bed. She had like a 101 fever. Mine topped out at like 99.5. Not great, but anyway, my stomach is killing me now. So if I have to get up and split from the show for a second, I ate the fish. Fish was delicious. Feast of the Seven Seas, cod, mac and cheese, very benign, heavy food, solid. Kept me over. About 5 o'clock, I'm like, man, I need to eat something else. I can't just eat that today. So I heated up some of the stuffed manigot that I made, and I made it delicious. I'll show you a picture of it, actually. I heated up some of the stuffed manigot and a couple of meatballs with a piece of ham, and I start the meal with the ham. I'm like, whew, that doesn't taste right. That doesn't taste right at all. Okay, meh. And I just tossed it to the dog And she bent over, picked it up, and ate it, and went, just spit it right on the ground. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this? I didn't know that it was a smoked ham. I cooked it in the oven. Look at this. That's the manigot I made. How fucking good. I think I ate like half of this pan yesterday. Shit was... This might as well have been my serving. Dude, it's... So I'm like, this shit ain't good. So I ate the manigot. I'm like, ooh, that ham. It's boy. So on top of being sick, I now have upset tummy. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? My cooking makes people keel over, not in a good way. I pride myself on being a pretty fucking good cook. I never thought I would be a good cook, but I kind of fell backwards into it. Because with Mom, it was a slow decline up until her accident where she broke her hip, and then it was just like straight down. It was less than a year, and she was gone. But she had taught me how to make the sauce, how to make the cheese stuffing for the lasagna, the manigot. She taught me how to do that, so I still have the recipe saved in my phone. Like I'm getting the hang of it. I honestly don't know what he's talking about. Manigot, say it right. Don't insult Italians. 2 T's and then I. Shut up. Ooh, herb bread. Ooh, I cook for my taste. People would similarly taste like a lot of the stuff I cook, especially if I'm making like my meal prep or whatever. I like. Here's one of my other problems is I think every meal has to be spicy, even if it doesn't come spicy. So if I get like polo con crema from my little Mexican place, I'll take it home and then I'll crush up I'll throw a spoonful of crushed jalapenos in it. Or my favorite thing is I'll just take, and they give you the little tortilla wraps. I put flaming hot Cheetos in the wrap, then the con crema, then the rice, and I eat it like that. That is my toxic trait. I think every meal needs to be spicy because it makes it better. But sorry, I kind of meandered there for a minute. That was Daryl Lowe for the 3280 with the snowman fuckery, I guess would be the right word to put it. Spicy, toilet dress. Man, every time it's like, oh, we're flipping a coin here. What are we doing? Snowman. No man's snowman. That's what we're going to call that. So you had a bowl of cereal. You had dried pepper or hot sauce. I get little, like, cravings for cereal. Like, a couple of weeks ago, I had an absolute fucking insane want for Captain Crunch. So I went to the store and I bought Captain Crunch. I ate the box in like 2 or 3 days. And then I went and got Fruity Pebbles. And it's still sitting in my cabinet. I wanted it at the time. Then I had one bowl of it. I'm like, nah. I don't know about that one. I stuffed quartered lemons into my turkey, seasoned it with pepper. Ooh, that sounds pretty good. I want cereal and cereal is the best stoner munchie because you get a snack and a drink. But then the milk tastes like whatever cereal you were eating. Hands down, best cereal, and this is not up for debate, is Captain Crunch. Close second is French Toast Crunch / Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Then the rest. Then the rest of them. I prefer Fruit Loops over Pebbles. If you want the inside of your mouth to turn into a fucking World War I map, I've got to fallen out of love with Fruity Pebbles. It's not bad. It just doesn't feel quite right. Yeah, sandwich is the best food. Period. Like, that's my favorite food group is sandwich. And you have your meats, but sandwich is always on top because whatever meats you have can go on sandwich. Anyway, we're not going to sit here meandering about food for a half an hour. But I'm also a 37-year-old senior citizen that likes Raisin Bran. Hey, man, like what you like. I'm still a 12-year-old boy who laughs at farts, funny things on the internet, and likes my sugar cereal. Yeah, I am getting older, and I'm paying more attention to what I eat and calories and shit like that. And I'm looking at it going, is that 300 calories per thing? I eat like 2 times a day. I could eat 3 cups of this, and that would be, how many cups are in it? I'd have to eat like a third? Ugh. Farts are always funny. That's also true. All right, we're going to get into the tuck. Enough of the fucking food. Something. I don't remember. Guys, please smash that like button. Please share it out on your social media. Peanut Butter Crunch is superior to Captain Crunch. I gotta go with the regular. Peanut butter is good. The regular is the GOAT, and Oops All Berries is a once in a while treat. And like, I wish they made Oops All Berries in like a half-size box. Smash the like button, share it out on your social media, should you feel so inclined. Please consider hitting up that Streamlabs. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. This probably will be the last time we have Christmas donos up. So we do have one more chance to see the new McKinley and to hear the new Pink Salmon song. Are you going to show the Kevin Spacey? I was going to save that for Friday. Because we were talking about House of Cards. But it's our last chance to hear the new Pink Salmon Club Christmas song, and the last chance to see the new McKinley Club donation. And I'll tell you what, if we do manage to unlock that new donation tonight, I can do either double songs, a song and a horse cock, or double Pinky Christmas songs or a song and a horse cock. It's up to you. So let's get into the tuck. I believe we're starting with it's a Babylon Bee. Tucker with interviewing the owner of the Babylon Bee.
Parody. It's been more than 3 days. You haven't been reading the news. It's reached the level where it's almost impossible to tell the difference between what's reported as fact by the news media and what someone with a dark sense of humor has made up. Well, we thought this was exactly...
Well, that's the thing, though, is Babylon Bee is getting it right more often than not. They sit around thinking the most inane shit that you can possibly come up with. But then it turns out to be real.
Exactly the moment to speak to the man who makes up more news than anyone in America, Seth Dillon, who runs Babylon Bee, and he joins us now. Seth, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So we're really talking to you today not as the proprietor of America's premier humor site, but as a prophet, as our own Isaiah.
Yeah.
Because it turns out, and we went through quite a few examples, that the Babylon Bee's parody stories have come true in dozens, scores, nearly 100 cases. I'm going to put 3 on the screen and get your reaction to them to kind of set the stage to announce you as America's most accurate prophet. So,
America's most accurate prophet. That's pretty good. Oh, Chi. I don't know what the name is within striking distance, but it'd have to be a pretty decent hit.
Let's go in order here. This is from January 2023. Here's the headline. Experts say they don't know what thing is causing everyone to suddenly collapse, but it's definitely not that one thing.
That's
Let's go to the
fucking
news
good.
story.
That is hilarious. Oh, that's a lot better than we thought. Sin like Boogie getting kicked off Twitch for nudity one day after the South Park special. Dude, I haven't seen a South Park thing in forever. But Boogie literally pulled his dick out on stream, didn't he? Like, I'm pretty sure that's how that happened.
Something has been killing American young people in sharply rising numbers, but it's not vaccines.
They don't know what it is, but they know it's not vaccine.
They know it's not vaccines.
They can rule that out safely.
So when you see the news story that confirms...
Oh, no, he didn't. I thought he did, Pikmin.
Confirms what you thought was a pretty out there joke. What's your reaction?
I mean, we're getting accustomed to it at this point,
Yes.
but you know, it's I think it's probably the most common misconception people have is that when the world goes really wild and insane and there's crazy stuff happening, that it's easy to satirize that, it's easy to make fun of it, and it's...
Oh, educational, Pikmin, thank you.
It's actually the opposite. We find that it's... The way that I put it is, imagine if your job is to write jokes that are funnier than what Democrats are doing in real life.
That's right.
It sounds difficult, honestly. It's my absolute favorite thing going on is people talking about the Great Replacement conspiracy theory, completely forgetting that Democrats have used it as a running point for the past 5 years.
Imagine if your job is to write jokes that are funnier than a Kamala Harris speech.
No, it's totally.
I mean, it's challenging.
So you
it's
really
actually very challenging.
Live in like Amish country where everything is like orderly and neat and sensible. That's something fun to pivot against.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. We see this stuff happen. We're amused by it on the one hand, and on the other hand, we're like, it's crazy that satire can't stay satire for more than a few hours.
I mean, I don't know what the shelf life of your pieces is. Here, let's throw up another one. This is from September 2020. State with no electricity orders everyone to drive cars that run on electricity. And there you have Gavin Newsom, who's the governor of what state?
California.
California. Here's the news story. California is told not to charge electric cars days after gas cars sales ban.
Don't own it. You got to own it. You can't drive it. A lot of this, and again, it is conspiratorial, but it really seems like they're trying to control movement, doesn't it? It's interesting.
How'd you see that coming?
It's comical. I mean, well, in some sense, we're just reporting the news when we're doing this stuff. You know, like you see it happening. You see the madness happening all around you. You call it out, and next thing you know, it's actually in the headlines.
But I guess the joke is you see the implications of the news?
Yeah, the joke is that you see you can kind of see around the corner. I think it's easy you can kind of guess at what people are going to go to next. What's the next logical step here, given where we've come? What is Kamala Harris's line about how where we've been and where we're going or something? The line she keeps repeating all the time.
And wherever you are, you are.
And wherever you are, you are. I don't know. I mean, you can kind of see around the corner with this, especially when you're trying to think to yourself, well, you know, what is the next insane thing that they could come up with that they haven't already come up?
I don't know what it is, but I'm sure they can, no pun intended, shit something out of their fucking faces, and it'll be worse than anything we've seen so far.
You just throw that out there and see.
It's like and I hate using the term, it is absolutely gaslighting that they're doing with the Hunter Biden stuff, that they've been doing with the Hunter Biden stuff. It's insane.
See what sticks. I mean, eventually it's going to come true.
How long are your story meetings?
Well, it's a constant meeting. It's an ongoing meeting. It's just, pitching ideas all day long. So we just pitch them back and forth. Based off that, we read the headlines, we read the real headlines, and then we exaggerate them a little bit. We do this little caricature of the headlines, and then that's when they come true.
Are you getting to the point where no idea is too outlandish for a joke?
Well, I mean...
Where is the line? That's the question. Where is the line that you would call out a joke of being too far as opposed to, oh shit, this is going to happen?
I guess part of the problem is some of these ideas are too outlandish for a joke, but they do actually happen in real life, so people don't realize they're a joke.
Right.
So you have these things, we'll publish a joke that's clearly a satirical joke, but everybody thinks it's true, and they share it as if it's true because they're so used to seeing almost satirical headlines in the real news.
Yes.
So reality is at fault for that. It's not that, our jokes are too believable. It's that reality is too close to satire. Oh, we get fact-checked all the time. We've been fact-checked dozens of times. Snopes has fact-checked us at least 20 times, 20-plus times.
I love that Snopes... Well, the issue with it is Snopes thinks that they are some kind of arbiter when it comes to this stuff. Snopes thinks that they can put a false label on something and then everybody else is going to kowtow to them, go, it is fake news, maybe we shouldn't allow it on our site. But it is clear that the Babylon Bee is parody.
Do they know that you're a parody site?
And what's funny is it always goes in one direction. When was the last time you saw Snopes fact check some obvious commie gobbledygook? Words fail me when I talk about how much I fucking hate communists.
They do. They used to attribute nefarious motives to us. They used to say that we were like misleading people on purpose with these jokes because they were believable and people were sharing them as if they were true. Again, not our fault. I think that's the fault of reality being too close to satire.
Yes.
But they would fact check them regularly, ridiculous jokes like, you know, AOC goes on The Price is Right, guesses everything is free, or
That's a good joke, actually.
Ninth Circuit Court overturns death of Ruth Bader.
Don't we all just kind of hate communists? I mean, it's the stream goal. Eat the fucking commies. They're the worst.
Ginsburg. You know, these are they're silly jokes. They're funny jokes, but sometimes people believe that it's true because you could actually see somebody doing this.
Who came up with those two?
I don't know. We don't actually put the name of the author on the article, so I'd have to go back and
they're
look.
clever
and see.
enough.
Yeah. We have a very
Something happened with Tucker's mic.
very sharp writing team. They're very good at this. Super good at this. I think one of my favorites that got fact checked was our joke about Trump saying that he had done more for Christianity than Jesus himself.
That's fucking hilarious. But you know, that does sound like something fucking Trump would say, though, too. That's why it's great.
And that was
your headline.
That was the headline. Trump, I have done more for Christianity than Jesus.
But he kind of said that at some point, didn't he?
He did. Well, yeah. So we made that joke in 2019. It got fact checked shortly thereafter because it went crazy viral. And then in 2021, I think it was 2021 or 2022, he said he'd done more for Christianity and religion in general than any other person in history. So
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It's hard to tell sometimes. Are people reading our website and getting ideas for what to say and what to do? I don't know. But that one was kind of
So
funny.
how do you respond when someone fact checks a joke, AOC on Price is Right, Trump's better for Christianity than Jesus? How do you respond to that?
Well, when they fact check it, I think it's hysterical when they fact check it. What I don't like is when the fact check says they've managed to pull off this ruse before, they're tricking people. You know, the reason your grandma shared that joke on Facebook is because the Babylon Bee tricked her into believing it was true, you know.
They're old. They should know better. They don't know better, and that's their fault. It's because they're old. Yeah.
That kind of stuff is ridiculous. We actually threatened to sue Snopes because they were literally maligning us and suggesting that we were misinforming people on purpose. And then Facebook was saying that they were going to demonetize and deplatform us because we were being fact-checked by Snopes.
Exactly what I just fucking said. Holy shit. They use Snopes as a reason to censor people. That is what it is.
So they're saying you can't spread fake news on our platform. I'm like, it's satire.
So what, I assume Snopes is run by the CIA, or, I mean, I don't have evidence of that, but I like Wikipedia. It seems obvious, but what do you know about Snopes?
Alan for 10, knocking Chi way down on Stream Boss HP says sin. Alan, thank you. Whoa, that is not the correct dono for that. Let me go back through and fix that. I'll replay the correct one. Snopes is ran by activists. It's ran by communist activists too. It's always the communists. Here we go.
Yeah. Slang.
Beautiful. Thank you, Alan. Alan, thank you, sir.
There was a couple that started it, and that they were running it for a long time. I think the guy's name, I might mess it up. It was David Mickelson or...
Woo Violence. It's been close enough to a half hour. We could get the other shill in real quick. This is the last time for all the Christmas violence. The Christmas Wick the Halls, the Violent Night, the Christmas Witcher, and, of course, the brand new Violent 500 with the song.
Something like that, or Michelson. I may be getting that wrong. But anyway, it changed hands recently. Somebody else took it over.
Oh, someone else.
They actually reached out to us and said, I know we've had a rough past, but we want to put that behind us and move forward. And
I mean, in your experience, do the fact checkers, which are, I mean, again, clearly at the very least influenced by the intel agencies.
Yeah.
Do they play any constructive role in our public conversation?
No. No. I mean, well, first of all, they're spending their time fact-checking satire. The joke about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or her death being overturned by the Ninth Circuit
Can you
Court.
overturn someone's death, by the way?
That is hilarious.
It happened
once.
happened once. Yeah, it happened once. I don't think it happened with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but USA Today fact-checked that one, and they cited 15 sources in their fact check.
This just tells me that these people literally have nothing to talk about if it's not shitting on somebody right wing. Like, nothing? You got nothing?
Like, they were taking it so seriously. They checked the Ninth Circuit Court website. They placed phone calls. It's like, just look at the website that published it.
So
it's the Babylon Bee. It's insane.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I always think that behind every ludicrous event like that is a person who spent his day doing that thing. So imagine if you went home at night and your wife says, you're like, what, Seth, what'd you do today?
Yeah, what'd you accomplish today?
And you're like, well, I fact-checked a joke with 15 sources. Like, the respect level from your wife has to plummet, right?
You would think.
The fact that it got fact-checked is funnier than the joke itself.
Yes.
Like the one, so I had spoken with you about this one before, CNN purchasing an industrial-sized washing machine to spin the news in before publishing it.
Holy shit. That's hilarious.
That's a ridiculous joke. It's silly. It's a CNN bias joke. And that got fact-checked and rated false too. So they're spending their time on stories that aren't even...
CNN didn't actually purchase an industrial-sized...
Never happened. They never did. They never slapped...
Well, how does he know? Was he there? Did he look?
After the logo on a washing machine and spun the news in it before it never happened. It was a joke. But the joke is that they fact-check it. They took it seriously. But no, fact-checking... So the way that I look at it is, you know, fact-checking is a... it's an arm... It's one of the methods that's employed by the lovers of censorship to guard the narrative, not the truth.
Yes.
And so what they're doing with fact-checking is they're very selective. First of all, they're super selective about what they fact-check. And then the fact-checks themselves often get the facts wrong on purpose. And so they're not guarding the truth and saying, okay, there's this problem of misinformation and we're going to prevent its spread. And we're going to do that by having objective people look at what the facts are. It's all narrative driven. It's all about protecting the popular narrative.
And by narrative, you mean lie.
The lie, yeah. Whatever the popular lie is that they want you to believe, yes. The claims are on that. You have the press secretary for the current administration saying that Biden has done more to secure the border than any other person. That's a straight-faced claim from the...
And that is a bold face lie. Biden has made the border the weakest it's ever been. We have had more illegals come in under Biden than ever before, but he's doing more to strengthen the border. Sure, Jan.
Press secretary, fact checkers haven't touched it. It has not been rated false.
Really?
Now,
why doesn't someone fact
Governor
check
Abbott
right
in
too?
Texas, Governor Abbott in Texas,
Yes.
was talking about how this administration currently has basically an open border policy, and that got fact checked and rated false. So, you know, the challenges to the narrative are fact-checked and rated false. The narrative itself, which isn't true, is allowed to go unchecked.
So normally we wouldn't care what the fact-checkers say because they're obviously discredited. I mean, they're disgusting by their nature, but we have to care.
We faced nice.
Because they are the triggers that set into motion the censorship apparatus at the social media companies.
I could have swore it was bold too, Miss Sparkles. I could have sworn.
Correct?
Well, they rely on this. So they use the fact checkers are the way of them getting out of the way and saying, well, we're not the ones determining, we're not the arbiters of truth. Facebook could punt to Snopes or whoever else, USA Today, whoever's doing the fact checking and say, we're not censoring you. We're not removing your content based on, you know, arbitrary rules. We have third-party fact checkers. They're objective, and they're the ones deciding what's true and what's false and what can stay.
It is, Paul. I'm just cracking wise. What's up, Sin? Give mom and the family our love. That's going to be kind of hard to do, to give mom the love.
And what goes. So they fit in as a piece that allows them to basically have like plausible deniability that they're involved in censorship. But the USA Today fact check on Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death, that was funded by grants from Facebook. So Facebook paid USA Today to write that.
Well, didn't Facebook
write that
steal
fact
the
check.
last election too? They put almost $500 million, Mark Zuckerberg, into changing the way we vote. So I don't know. Are they going to fact check
Just get a Ouija board, a wedgie board. I could.
that? Because that actually happened. Okay, let me get to the third example of the Babylon Bee's prophetic accuracy. And I don't actually know how else you describe this. This is from April of 2022. Government Disinformation Board determines all criticism of Government Disinformation Board to be disinformation. It is a self-licking ice cream cone. Okay, so that was your headline. Here's the fact. Mayorkas cites misinformation about Homeland Security's Disinformation Board.
Ay, ay, ay. Okay, let me show you a post I saw today, because I thought this is going to be the dumbest thing I've seen, but this is now taking it over. And of course, you know, it's communist gobbledygook, as always. But hey, commies crashes the economy. The economy. I have nothing else to say to this. They are so mad at this guy who won because he's anti-communist that they're blaming him for the decades of mismanagement of the economy before.
The world is too absurd to be satirized.
So when you see that, I mean, do you feel vindicated?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, did Jeremiah feel vindicated?
It means we're onto something. What it means is that there was, okay, so this is another criticism of the Babylon Bee. We're narrative driven, we're propagandists, we're trying to push our own viewpoint that has
is that
no,
what the
no
propagandists
basis.
say about it?
Yeah, like Slate, all these people, Rolling Stone, when they write,
exist.
They do, yeah. And when they write pieces about us, they talk about how we're trying, or the reason our jokes aren't funny is because they're not riding on the back of the truth. They're not carrying a message of truth. They're pushing a narrative. They're based on a narrative.
Stephen David for the $1.69. Thought Tucker Nights would have... What? Thought Tucker Nights would save you, dipshits, huh? Well, I'm around on Tuesdays again, and this box... Okay, let me try that from the top and post. You thought Tucker Nights would save you, dipshits, huh? Well, I'm around on Tuesdays again, and this Boxing Day. God damn it. Okay, that wasn't me. Don't make me write 100% wood chip dipshits on a box. Smash the like button. Indeed. Thank you so much, Stephen David. Much appreciated, sir. Chi, very low HP. Last chance to see Christmas, blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah.
So the joke isn't funny because it's rooted in a lie.
So Slate doesn't think it's funny.
But I think the fact that we get fact-checked so much and these jokes are coming true vindicates that there is truth to them, obviously. They're rooted in the truth because they're coming true. You have to fact-check them and rate them false.
So I wonder if we take...
The written word, his only weakness.
this seriously enough. I mean, if someone is trying to stop you from talking, that person doesn't consider you human, of course.
Real quick, just a little bit of a side note. Any of you guys who happen to listen to the creepypasta that I put up Friday, what did you guys think of it? Because I've gotten a lot of comments that said it was one of the better ones.
Because you can't, if you consider someone human, that person has every bit the right to speak that you do. If you consider the person subhuman, a slave, then you can make him shut up. So it's the way they see you is not how you see them at all. You see them as human beings, correct? The censors, the fact checkers, yes. Slate. You don't want to shut them up or put them in prison, do you?
No. And I actually like the way that Twitter, now X, is handling false claims or misleading claims, because what they're doing is, instead of trying to
getting some blood money, Sin wants some. Look, man, I don't know how you get it. That is none of my business, but you got to pay the vig. It was quite good. I don't often watch them, but I liked that one. Nice. It was good. Definitely. Nice. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. I tried a different way of doing it.
Shut anybody up. You know, the community notes thing where they'll tag a note on it, but It's the best feature of the platform, by the way. It's so entertaining.
It was adequate. I like it, but I don't want you to get a big head. It was fine.
When people get noted and it's, you know, they make a ridiculous claim. Biden's been noted a bunch of times. Even Elon's been noted a couple of times. So you share something that's either from a dubious source, or you make a claim that's, obviously false, and a community note gets attached to it that offers context, readers added context, right? That's at least more speech in the answer to speech that's disliked. It's a rebuttal that's prominently set up next to whatever the claim was. Yeah. I like that a lot more than, okay, Snopes rated you false, therefore we're taking your page down, you can't talk anymore. You know, the answer.
But there is so much. Again, it only goes one way. When I say most, I mean like 98% of establishment stuff is in favor of communist gobbledygook. So that's why you won't see Snopes fact-checking a communist article. You'll see it fact-checking satire, Babylon Bee, etc., etc.
The answer to speech that you don't like should be more speech, right? A refutation or an argument, not removal of your voice.
Well, of course not. So, but your voice was removed from Twitter back when it was Twitter. You were in Twitter prison. I can't remember. Why were you there? So prison changes the name. Like, how was your time in Twitter prison?
We were in Twitter jail, as you could put it, for 8 months.
Wow. Did you join a gang?
We were there with a few other interesting people, Jordan Peterson,
You gotta
Kathy
do the
Griffin.
time, Seth. You can't let the time do you.
You know, a lot of interesting people in Twitter jail.
I can't even imagine. I can just picture you smoking your home-rolled cigarettes, playing pinochle, cooking pasta.
So we had made a joke. So there was a real headline. USA Today names Rachel Levine Woman of the Year. So Rachel Levine is the transgender health admiral in the Biden administration.
Oh, the dude with the medals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Woman of the Year. So that headline itself, I think, is comical. It's funny. It seems like a parody, but it's not. It's real. So we were thinking to ourselves,
ugliest woman in America.
What do we do? Very bold and beautiful woman. I don't know.
Stunning and brave, I think you mean.
You're talking about.
Sorry.
Brave, stunning. So we were looking at this headline and thinking to ourselves, what do we do with this? Like, what is the angle here to make a joke out of what's already a joke? This is already a joke.
Yeah.
And women should be offended. Everybody should be offended that a male person is winning this Woman of the Year. But the only thing that we could think of to say was, okay, well, how about in defense of women insanity, we just simply say the Babylon Bee's pick for Man of the Year?
Oh my God. Clearly a joke. Fucking unbelievable.
Is Rachel Levine.
Hilarious.
So that was the headline that we put out there. Babylon Bee names Rachel Levine Man of the Year. So, you know, Twitter didn't like that. It's misgendering.
That's so hateful.
Yeah, exactly. So misgendering falls under the hateful
So
conduct.
with an Adam's apple and a jockstrap. You're calling him a man.
You're referring to a male person as a man.
Yeah, that's hate.
And that's
hate.
It's
The
hate.
face of hate. Really.
Hateful conduct. It's misgendering by their policy. It's not, you know, it's not acceptable. So basically what
Levine is a scumbag, Zach? Isn't it Rachel Levine, whatever?
what they said was this: you can have your account back if you delete the tweet with that joke attached to it. But you have to delete it. They didn't take it down. They wanted us to delete it and check this box that said by deleting, you know, when you delete this tweet, you acknowledge that you violated the rules, including the rules against hateful conduct.
So sign a confession.
Sign a confession, bend the knee, you know, censor yourself, delete your own joke. Like I was basically telling Twitter, I'm like, you guys delete. If you don't like it, you take it down. Why make me take it down and admit that I did something wrong?
Well, that's the whole point.
It's not censorship. It's subjugation, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So we said no. So we're like, no, we're not going to delete it. And we got into this standoff with Twitter.
Can I ask you just a question? So, which is a little bit off topic, but maybe central. You are a Christian, son of a pastor.
Yeah.
When you're told by the authorities, not simply that you're being punished, but that you have to agree that your punishment is just.
Right.
Is there like a theological?
You have to agree that you earned it, you fucked up, and you have to kiss the boot. This is basic commie tactics 101. What do they call them? Struggle sessions? Keep that in mind.
Component for you when you say no?
Yeah. I mean, it's standing on the principle that not only do we think that this, first of all, it's a joke.
Right.
Second of all, it's true. This is a male person, referring to them as a man. A man means an adult human male, so there's truth to it as well. Yes. So the idea that we're not allowed to speak the truth, and that we have to censor ourselves and admit that we engage not just in a falsehood, but something that was hateful. Yeah, I think that there's a moral objection to playing any part in that.
Amen.
So so that was really the ground that we were standing on. It wasn't just like, oh, let's get some publicity by refusing to do. This was a costly decision, by the way. There was nobody in the world at that time knew that Elon was positioning himself to take over Twitter. So, and we didn't know that if he did, that he would end up restoring us. So it wasn't like we had any kind of fallback for that. It was just our Twitter audience was going to be inaccessible.
Slip a sable under the tree for me. Been an awful good girl, Santa baby, and hurry down the chimney tonight.
That's not right. God damn. Oh, two. Here's some blood money, big guy. All you need is a warm body. Hey, man, ask no questions. Thank you very much, Ravon. Let's get a big thank you out there for Ravon. Much appreciated. And C. Thomas, remember, folks, the first sign of tyranny is when the king tries to hang the jester. Is that a quote? I like that quote. Thank you, C. Much appreciated, good sir. And we are just about 20% cool. Ravon has taken over Stream Boss. Much appreciated, sir.
To us if we didn't delete the joke, and we deliberated about it for like 5 minutes, and we're like, no, we're not doing it. So we sat in Twitter jail until Elon took the reins and was like, bring back the Babylon Bee.
So how did that play out? And by the way, you're one of the main owners of the business.
Yeah.
Your whole business is getting your content in front of viewers, selling ads against it. I mean, this is like as you said, a very costly.
It was a very stupid business decision. I think it was a morally right.
I read yeet commies wrong. No, they yeetus deletus
decision. But you know, the right thing and the easy thing are rarely ever the same. It was a costly decision because that's where we generate a lot of our traffic is through Twitter.
Well, yeah.
And that's where, so when people say, well, how costly was it to be off of Twitter? Well, I mean, we weren't getting engagement from people like Trump or yourself or Rogan or Musk on Facebook or Instagram. It was happening on Twitter. That's where we got engagement from people with big followings. That's right. That's how they knew about the bee, and that's how they engaged with the bee. So once we were sidelined from Twitter, we were basically out of the conversation. That's where the conversation was happening. Right. So it was a big cost to us, not just monetarily, but just being relevant. We weren't relevant anymore. So, I mean, the way it went down was really crazy because you had, you know, obviously Elon was wanting to make a move to buy Twitter. You know, when he first found out that we were suspended, he reached out to us and he's like, "Is this true? Are you guys really suspended?" That's what I'm hearing. At first, he actually reached out to our Babylon Bee account and we couldn't respond to him because we were locked out of it. So we're like,
oh, that's smart, Elon.
We can receive the message, but we can't reply to it. So we're like, Elon Musk is trying to message us and we can't get back to him. Yeah, so we.
Here's to make it an even 20% in. Thank you very much, Caro Soldier. Much appreciated, sir.
Couldn't even respond. So eventually he found our editor-in-chief's account and was able to message him and get in touch with him. So we're like, yeah,
so
we
really made
an
effort
suspended.
to find you guys.
Oh yeah, he was trying to get in touch with us to figure out what was going on. Because at the time, unknown to us and anybody else, he was already buying Twitter stock and he was kind of positioning himself, looking at Twitter as like a potential acquisition. So, and the reason he wanted to do that is because he was concerned that there was a lot of censorship and people weren't allowed to speak freely on the platform anymore, and that something needed to be done about that. So then he finds out that the bee is suspended and he's like, "Are you serious? This is ridiculous. You should be able to tell jokes." So, yeah, so we had a conversation with him about, you know, how insane it was that we were kicked off, and he's like, "Why don't you just delete the tweet to get back on?" And we're like, "I don't think we should. I don't think we should have to." And he's like, "Well, no, I don't think you should have to either." So, fast forward a little bit. I mean, we were on a roller coaster there for a while because he was, you know, he made an offer and then he tried to get out. He tried to back out and say, "Oh, you know, you guys misrepresented your numbers. There's all these bots. I don't want to buy bots. I want to buy a real user."
And they fucking crucified him for it because, and you'll notice that there is a little bit of a theme for tonight's show. Communists love money, just other people's money. They acted like it was owed to them.
And so he was trying to get out of the deal. Maybe he bit off more than he could chew and was like having cold feet about it.
It was quite a mouthful.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Twitter sues him to try to keep him in the deal. And so we had no idea if anything was going to happen or if he was actually going to take over, if this was just a big publicity play or whatever. So I woke up to a message one morning. It was October or November last year. I don't know exactly when it was that he took over. But he finally closed the deal. And, it was October. And yeah, it was in October. He finally closes the deal. And I wake up at like, I don't know, 8 or 9 in the morning. I was just sleeping in that day. It was a weekend, I think it was. And I had a message from Elon that he sent overnight. He said, "Would you like me to restore the bee's account? There will be no censorship of humor." So he took over and was immediately wanting to rectify the problem.
Elon, for all his faults, he knew what the issues were to make people happy on Twitter.
And how long after he took over was that?
That was day one. Day one.
So one of his first texts was to you saying, you're restored.
Yeah. Well, would you like me to restore your account? There will be no censorship from here. Come to find out, we actually didn't get restored for another month because he started, he went into the meetings with the trust and safety team and they're like, you can't just restore people. You can't just break the rules. There's rules. We enforce the rules. If you break the rules for one person, you have to break them for everybody.
If you insult someone in power, we censor you. That's our rule.
Yeah. So they were like, dude,
Unless it's a Republican in power, then you're duty bound to do it. Ravon says, all right, fuckers, who's going to yeet me off the throne? Bring it on. Talking that shit.
can't just restore the Babylon Bee. And he's like, well, why not? Why can't, isn't it like a presidential pardon? Why can't I pardon somebody, and set them free? And they're like, that's not how this works. I mean, I guess you can if you want to. So they actually argued with him a lot back and forth.
Can I ask you just another sideline question? But you can't insult Richard Levine, product of private school, doctor, guy posing as an admiral or whatever. He's in power. He works for the current administration. But if you were to find some 45-year-old white guy drywall hanger in Iowa, is there anything that you would not be allowed to say about him?
No, nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. No. So this
including let's kill him and everyone like him.
Right. No. So this is such an important point you're bringing up. The idea, this concept of who you can and can't make fun of. So Richard Levine, Rachel Levine, whatever you want to call him, Man of the Year, high-ranking white male government official.
Yeah.
High-ranking white male government official. And this is a person that you can't joke about because they're marginalized and oppressed, supposedly. Do words even have meaning? What does the word marginalized mean? Dylan Mulvaney. Is Dylan Mulvaney on the red carpet at these events and
why is Mulvaney famous exactly? Does anybody know? Because I'm genuinely curious. Can I hammer the bot? We have a bot? What? Who's a bot?
Sponsored by every major, brand, marginalized and oppressed. What does that word even mean, to be marginalized, right? So we're looking at this and we're like, so wait a minute. They're telling us they have a rule. Facebook now has a rule. The other platforms are adopting this rule.
Oh, okay.
And they're trying to make comedians live by the rule. You're not allowed to punch down. That's what they say.
Curious.
You can't punch down. And punching down
Dylan
means...
Mulvaney towers above the rest of us in his power, right?
Right. But the rule against punching down...
You or Dylan Mulvaney?
I can't get anybody censored for making fun of me. So I think if you have the will and the power to silence people who so much as make a joke at your expense, then you have more power than anybody.
You're punching up.
Exactly.
Ibram X. Kendi has way more power than anyone in the county I live in.
Right. Yeah, so this idea, the punching down, the number one rule of comedy should be funny. It's to be funny, right? When a humorist or satirist, a comedian is sitting down to write a joke, they should be thinking to themselves, is this joke funny? Not, am I going to be making fun of someone who supposedly has less power and privilege than me, but can actually get me punished if they're offended by my joke?
Right.
And it's
But I think it's a matter of reclaiming the language. Like Dylan Mulvaney, Rachel Levine. I mean, these are our rulers, actually.
Right. Yeah, they're the most powerful and privileged people in our culture, and you're not allowed to joke about them. So,
Except for Michelle Obama,
and that's
who is oppressed.
Yeah, and I mean,
well, duh. Don't you know the First Lady of the United States of America is absolutely oppressed because woman?
This is everybody understands this too. It's a well-known saying that you can tell who rules over you by who you're not allowed to criticize or who you're allowed to joke about, and that's exactly.
I don't think you're even allowed to say that, though. Are you?
Probably not.
I don't think you are.
Yeah.
That's hate speech right there.
Yeah, but we're not punching down.
Truer.
We're not punching down. I think we're punching back. But this is the thing
that is I'm gonna keep that tucked away for later use. It's not punching down. It's punching back, because that's exactly what it is. It's punching back at the fucking people who have actively done everything they could to make their political opponents' lives as bad as they can be. I like that. I like that a lot. Like, you can punch back at Ravon.
This is so comedy. When they make this rule, you know, well, there's a number of elements to this too. Imagine thinking to yourself when you're making a joke too, like, you know what, I shouldn't joke about those people. They're beneath me. Imagine if that's the mentality that you're in, right? Like, that's a condescending mentality.
Well, any man who's ever lived in a dorm knows that mocking somebody is a sign of fraternal friendship.
Right.
That's your peer.
Right.
I had a friend whose birthday was this morning. I mean, I sent him a whole barrage of
Making fun of him?
insulting jokes
Yeah,
about
there you
his
go.
age and his sexual potency, and that's the first thing I.
Change the goal to punching back commies? No, because I don't want that to be misconstrued as threat of violence. So I think, yeah, I don't want, no, I think we have to stick with yeet.
Do when one of my closest friends gets older. You know,
The
what I
way
mean?
of treating each other equally is joking about each other indiscriminately. So
Yes.
yeah, I think comedians who, and this is why so much of comedy is not funny today. It's my chief criticism of like late night
Okay, fuck it, why not? Let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we can do it.
comedy, which I find unwatchable. I think it's totally unwatchable.
But also contemptible. I mean, they're collaborators.
They are they just like the fact checkers. They're guardians of the narrative. You know, they
But
are.
How can Jimmy
they're-
Kimmel live with him? Like, Jimmy Kimmel is a talented guy, and I don't think he's like an evil person or something, but he's made this deal where he just serves power and attacks anybody who challenges power. Like, how can, honestly, how can he look in the mirror and say, I'm doing something honorable? Like, how can he live with himself? How can his wife sleep with him?
Well,
Seriously.
it'd be
I mean that.
it'd be one thing. It'd be one thing if his job wasn't to be a comedian and to do
See, there we go. Bang.
that, but his job is to be he's supposed to be funny, and comedians are supposed to hold people in
But he's
positions
a
of power
pure
accountable.
suck-up
Yeah.
to the people in charge.
Exactly.
He's their Praetorian guard.
Yeah.
And it's like-
Praetorian guard.
The self-hatred he must feel, because he wasn't always, that's my point.
Yeah.
Did he just say Jimmy Kimmel was talented? At one point, Kimmel was pretty undeniably talented and really funny, like Man Show era Kimmel. But then he has just turned into another activist. That's it. Another activist with their hand out, doing what they have to do to keep the money rolling into them.
Colbert has always been a hard partisan,
Right.
talented guy, but obviously he's not a comedian. But Kimmel was a comedian. Like, how does he, I don't understand
I don't know.
how he can
That-
sleep.
He might buy into the narrative to the extent that he thinks it's morally wrong to joke about these certain topics.
But
in
it's
these
not just
groups.
that, he's like pouring hot oil on the peasants from the parapet.
Right.
Like, he's hurting anyone who challenges the king. It's
Right.
crazy.
It is crazy. It's upside down. The comedians should be poking holes in the popular narrative, not propping
man
it
Jimmy
up.
Kimmel is. Like, truly. No, I mean it.
You
Like,
said it,
no
not
amount
me.
of money is worth what he's doing, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of handmaidens to power who want to kill you and anyone else who speaks the truth. So you get back on Twitter.
It's so gross. It's so gross. It's so funny. It's so gross. I got the loads. Hold on. Hold on, man. Daryl Odell, 3279, no comment. Thank you so much.
And this deeply upsets a figure.
That was a nice little shin kick to Ravon, I think. That was awful. What the hell? It was an elf Christmas party.
Called Brandy Zadrozny,
Okay.
assuming I'm pronouncing its name correctly. And I'm also not guessing gender on this one. But I will say, as you watch this clip, this is Brandy Zadrozny complaining about you speaking out loud. Keep in mind, it's not just about Brandy Zadrozny, whatever that is. This is the person who runs our society. This person and people like it are actually in charge, and I just can't wait till the rule ends, because there's never...
It is going to be so bittersweet when the rule ends, because they're not just going to let go of the power. They're not just going to let and go, you know what, it's fine, we lost fair and square. It's not going to happen at all. They're going to burn it down on their way out.
Been a worse ruling class Brandy Zadrozny and friends.
Who did he bring back yesterday? He brought back Jordan Peterson, the Babylon Bee, and Kathy Griffin. So the Babylon Bee and Jordan Peterson, they were taken off the platform. They were suspended for misgendering trans people. So apparently that policy against hate speech and harassment of trans people, that's done with. That's important. This comes at a time when trans people are being harassed and, violence is aimed at them at sort of unseen levels before. So this sort of matters.
Everything about that. Obviously the low IQ, the up talk.
I want to hear that one more time.
Zadrozny, whatever that is. This is the per charge, and I just and
Kathy Griffin. Who did he bring back yesterday? He brought back Jordan Peterson, the Babylon Bee, and Kathy Griffin. So the Babylon Bee and Jordan Peterson, they were taken off the platform. They were suspended for misgendering trans people. So apparently that policy against hate speech and harassment of trans people, that's done with. That's important. This comes at a time when trans people are being harassed and, violence is aimed at them at sort of unseen levels.
Where? Do you have a source for this? Do you have proof? Because isn't 99.9? Wasn't it point? Let me see if I can remember this properly. I might be off by an order of magnitude, but I think it was something like 6 trans people were killed in 2022. 6 were killed, and the rest of the unalivings were Minecrafting.
Before. So this sort of matters.
Everything about that. Obviously the low IQ, the up talk at the end of every sentence, the ersatz glasses, the theatrical fake glasses, the made up stats, the fake concern for some group that she knows nothing about at all, and then under all of it, the desire to press harder with her boot against the neck of ordinary people and to shut them up on behalf of her bosses, the people who run the world. That's the perfect, I hope that someone puts that in a time capsule for when the revolution finally ends and we're rid of people like that. They ran the world.
Well, this is the thing though, is we have to be careful with whatever we do when they finally lose power, because they will lose power. It's not really up for debate. That's something that's going to happen. We have to be careful with how we handle it, because I am personally very, very worried that these people will actually turn around and burn it down on the way out.
I know, it's insane. But it's how they control speech and thought. If your worldview is incoherent and impossible to defend rationally,
yes,
then you have to insulate it from criticism. And what's the most effective kind of criticism there is? I think it's mockery, which exposes foolishness for what it is. So it makes perfect sense to me. I honestly, I was mistaken about this. It's something.
Happy birthday, dear Jesus. Happy birthday to you. Today
is Christmas. I don't know why it cuts off like that. I think I fucked it up when I redid it. It says Full Metal Christmas, so I need to know if he's talking about the music or anime related. No, Full Metal Jacket, Full Metal Christmas. I've never seen Full Metal Alchemy. Then it was none of those things that you fucking guessed. And of course, a chance I'm wrong on it all, but still worth the opportunity to continue to support the content. Hashtag favorite content creator. Thank you, Liz. Inflate my head a little bit more, why don't you? Thank you very much. Jeez.
I admit I was wrong about is when early on, when we first started getting fact checked and we first started having these issues with censorship with the Babylon Bee, it was my belief that these were humorless scolds who just didn't think our jokes were funny, and they thought they were offensive and they were being hypersensitive, and that's not the case.
No, it's not. You're going through the stages of realization.
The stages of realization. I eventually learned and came to realize that it's not humor. Humor is a vehicle for truth delivery. Exactly. They don't like the fact that the narrative is being challenged in a way that's effective, and so they have to shut you up. And so that's what it's about. It has nothing to do with them being
Well, they
human
don't
with
have
schools
limits. They don't have
and it has
limits at
nothing to do
all.
with being offended. This whole thing, you know, the hypersensitive, the people getting up in comedians' faces or charging the stage.
Ravon is saying, I'm still standing, fuckers. Jesus Christ. Really out there talking that shit. Are you going to stand for that?
Just slap them in the face when they make a joke they don't like. The, you know, don't bring your speaker to our campus because we need a safe space here and this will offend people. They're not, it's all fake outrage because they've learned that fake outrage can be used as a tool to bludgeon you into silence and submission.
But that's exactly right. If they would censor you, they would kill you, period. Because you don't censor a peer, another citizen, another human being. You censor your slaves. You censor someone you consider less than human. So if censorship doesn't work, they'd indict you. If that doesn't work, they would kill you. I mean, it's a very obvious continuum. But I'd also say, and I want to ask you this, as the target of people like Brandy Zadrozny, wouldn't you rather be the target of an explicitly fascist regime, where it was aggressive rather than passive aggressive, where some guy in a funny mustache got up and said, you're going to jail, instead of having someone in fake complex glasses telling you you're endangering trans people? I mean, there is a kind of the power.
Being a stream boss only makes you a target. Why would I want that? Well, you're the boss. You get to make the decisions.
Passive aggression is very hard to take.
I'd rather neither of them, but well, I don't know. If I have to take my pick, I'll take Twitter jail over real jail any day. But
well, like that's where that's going. You don't censor people if you consider them human. Period.
Yeah, no, they're both bad. They're both bad. They're just two sides of the same coin.
How long do you think your moment of freedom will last?
Well, a lot longer now that Musk is running one of the predominant platforms. If that hadn't happened, I mean, it was just a matter of, like, Facebook throttles us so badly now. We don't get any reach on Facebook. We don't drive any traffic on Facebook. It's not really that valuable to us anymore.
Do you talk to them about it?
We've tried. You can't get straight answers from them.
Do they wear complicated glasses too and uptalk?
They just give you really canned responses, or they point you to their policies or whatever.
Bureaucratic language.
Exactly.
That's kind of my point, though.
Or they have people in place. They'll have some kind of policy person who's there to mollify you and just hear what you have to say and tell you we're looking into this for you, and then I'm going to run this up the chain. Kind of like the people who are there to listen to you to make it seem like they're actually paying attention, but they don't do anything about it.
Honestly, wouldn't you rather, and I'm not being only half facetious, deal with the North Korean security apparatus, where they're like, say that and we'll kill you? It's super straightforward, and they're not going to...
That's more or less what the Biden administration is doing right now, because they're not saying say it and we'll kill you unless you're that guy who was the Facebook grandpa. But what they're saying is say it and you're going to go to solitary confinement for a long time.
Lecture you about trans lives.
At least that's honest. At least it's honest.
Yeah, and it's less self-righteous.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I think I'm hopeful for a couple reasons. I think Musk really is committed to free speech. I think he means that. I don't think Twitter was not a money play for him. I don't think that he's
No, it was not a money play for
Twitter. Twitter is an absolute money pit, and he realized very early on it became real. So one of the conversations that they were having internally about whether to restore us was, well, what are going to be the advertisers' reactions to us putting people back on the platform? And
I think Elon handled that perfectly. You don't like how we're doing it? Go fuck yourself. No ambiguity left there at all. You don't like it? Fuck off. Don't care.
So this is where the censorship gets all the more complicated. Is the brands themselves don't want that speech. They will pull out their funding, they will pull out their ad buys and cripple Twitter financially if Twitter doesn't do their bidding. And so it's coming from the government, it's coming from the advertisers, it's coming from everywhere. All the positions of power are controlling our speech and saying that we can't joke about these people and things, but we're punching down. So yeah, I mean, he's walking that tightrope of, I want free speech, but I need revenue in order to keep this business going. So, he was doing this drastic cost cut.
Advertisers should not have that power. They're basically saying, say what we want you to say. If you don't, we're going to stop paying you, which is fine. It's their right. But it seems icky. I don't know.
Cost-cutting measures, all of that stuff. But trying to, I don't know how you actually run a free speech platform and have it be have it generate enough revenue for you to survive. I don't know how he's going to figure out how. Maybe he will. If anyone can do it, Musk can do it. He reuses rockets and lands them on platforms in the middle of the ocean after they've already launched and crazy stuff like that. So I think he can figure this out, but I don't know how he's going to do it.
So you expect to be up and available to the public through the election?
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out going forward. To me, anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I cannot say it enough, but the entirety of 2024 has me shit scaredless. Like I don't know what to expect. I know it's probably not going to be good.
I do. I mean, will we
and it's a perfect segue to what we're going to talk about next, because it's somebody who did defend themselves and got fucked over irreparably for it.
Do we have as much reach as we used to have? No, but I mean, we still have a platform. I've never been an advocate of let's go create new platforms and do our own thing, because then you're just creating a new echo chamber where people who agree with you are on that platform, and there's not interesting conversations happening there. So I am wanting to stay in the conversation where the conversation actually matters, these prominent platforms that you could call the public square of the modern age. And I think that we have a hopeful outlook when it comes to legal recourse there too. I mean, you have these laws that were passed at the state level, but in Florida and Texas, that make it illegal for these platforms to engage in viewpoint discrimination. And the Supreme Court is now going to hear these cases because, one of them was rejected by the 11th Circuit, one of them was upheld. The Texas one was upheld by the 5th Circuit. So the Supreme Court's going to make a decision on whether or not these companies can engage in politically motivated viewpoint discrimination. And if they can't, then we're legally allowed to be there.
Last question, as someone who operates in this world every day. Which platform do you think is more censored? The Facebook, American, owned by Mark Zuckerberg, or TikTok, owned by the Chinese Communist government?
Facebook.
I'm not sure that that's distinguishable at this point. Yeah. I mean, what do you think?
Facebook. Easy. Facebook. Absolutely Facebook. 100% Facebook.
Facebook is not a free speech platform at all. They may give more lip service to free speech. In fact, Twitter did too, back when we were censored, that they're a platform for free expression without barriers.
They're liars.
They're liars. They lie straight to your face. And that's fraud. They shouldn't be allowed to do that either.
Seth Dillon, thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you.
Hey, congratulations on your prophecy.
Thanks.
That was a pretty good interview. Let's move on to the Rittenhouse one. Guys, before we get into it, please, pretty please, smash that like button. Please share it out on your social media. And should you feel so inclined, Streamlabs listed down below. Last chance, probably, for Christmassy donations and all that fun jazz and whatnot. Ravon sitting at below half HP, well within striking range. And we are about 30% to goal. Not bad. Not bad at all.
House story is one of the most important and significant in recent.
That's low. Give me volume. I need volume.
Memory. It was only a little over 3 years ago. It was in August of 2020 in Kenosha, Wisconsin, an industrial town in that state. And riots had broken out after the death of George Floyd. And at the time, a lot of people imagined these were a direct response to George Floyd's murder. But of course they weren't. The entire thing was orchestrated, and the people you saw rioting were in fact militia working on behalf of the Democratic Party with funding from some of the richest people in the United States.
Wasn't it not George Floyd? It was the guy they said died but didn't, just got paralyzed because he pulled a knife? The hell was his name? What up, Tier?
United States. The whole thing.
If you don't smash the like button, you get grounded. If you don't smash the like button, you're a commie.
Had a political purpose, and of course that was achieved in the end, beating Donald Trump or getting him out of office. But at the time, in the middle of that chaos, almost nobody, and that would include the local police department, stood up to defend the town of Kenosha. And so that job was left to...
No, it wasn't Michael Brown.
Among just a few others, a teenager called Kyle Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse showed up in Kenosha that night in August to defend a car lot that its owner thought would be burned. So Rittenhouse showed up with nobody else with a rifle to defend this lot. During that riot, several people tried to...
Oh, yes, Jacob Blake, thank you.
...murder Kyle Rittenhouse, including a recently released mental patient who had a history of raping children, who tried to seize Kyle Rittenhouse's rifle and kill him with it. And he was not the only one who tried to do that. Kyle Rittenhouse defended himself with force and survived. For doing that, he was charged with murder. He went on trial and was ultimately acquitted. But in the process,
And held for how many millions of dollars of bond, all that shit? Two-tiered justice system ran by communist fucks.
we really saw who's on which side. People who looked to Kyle Rittenhouse and said, obviously you're on the right side. You're trying to defend the town of Kenosha against rioters and then your own life against murderers. And those who saw Kyle Rittenhouse as a threat to their plans to acquire more power, because Kyle Rittenhouse exercised the most basic right of all, and that's the right of self-defense. Well, it's hard to believe, but Kyle Rittenhouse today is only 20 years old. That's how young he was when that happened. He's had a remarkable life, and he's written about it in a new book called...
We all remember the whole thing. We all remember how it happened. But it is mind-boggling to me that this is how it played out, to the point where we're still talking about how much of an injustice it was fucking 3 years later, 2-3 years later. And the fact of the matter is that he was treated the way he was because of who was in charge in Kenosha and who he shot.
Called Acquitted, and we're honored to have him here on the set. Kyle Rittenhouse.
Thank you for having
joining
me,
us.
Tucker.
It's incredible that that was only a little over 3 years ago. You were 17 years old at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long journey. A lot of life lessons learned. I'm still learning life lessons, but going through that trial, spending time in jail, and just having the trajectory of my life change from wanting to be a firefighter, EMT, or a police officer to becoming this person of having to defend myself and being thrust into the national spotlight, being used on political campaigns such as Joe Biden's campaign where he called me a white supremacist, and just having my face plastered everywhere, calling me a white supremacist, a racist, a vigilante, and just smearing my name.
It's and I mean, there's so much to ask you, but it's interesting. I saw an interview you did the other day with someone I actually like and know well. But the framing of your story was really striking to me.
And there are still people who walk around thinking that he shot and killed 3 unarmed black men. It's hilarious. It's hilarious and unbelievable. But that's what happens when communists do the thing.
This person has effectively demanded that you apologize for not being killed in Kenosha. The idea is that you had no right to defend yourself, and you should have been murdered by the child molester or the apparent Satanist who went after you later with a gun. Like, you should have submitted to that. What is that a little bit weird to have people say to your face, I'm sorry that you weren't murdered, and how dare you defend yourself?
It is very weird. It makes me very uncomfortable. I think I know what you're talking about, and some of the questions he asked me. I personally think they were out-of-line questions, because I don't think he would have asked a person who was, say, in Israel, who had to defend himself or defend his country.
It's a good point. It's a damn good point, actually.
I don't think he would have asked him the same questions, but I don't know why he asked me.
Well, and I don't mean to single this person out. I mean, the only reason I'm bringing it up is because I think he speaks for many, and it's this, the person I'm talking about is a thoughtful, nice person, in my opinion. But those questions perhaps reflected his having not thought about it. That's kind of the view of a lot of people. Like, how dare Kyle Rittenhouse use force to defend his own life?
Absolutely.
C. Thomas for 2. The most disgusting thing about the Rittenhouse story is how all the corpos and commies still try to ruin the lives, because how dare he defend his local town, and they defend rioters and illegals. Well, that's what it comes down to. Not only did he stand against them, but he shot one of their guys. Communists stick together no matter what, and you can always tell. You can always fucking tell. Then again, that's why we need to eat them with our last maybe Christmas donations.
And I don't know how much of the trial he watched. I don't think he watched much, because one of the questions he asked is, why was I there with an illegal weapon? And I had to clear the record for the thousandth time saying, no, the firearm was not illegal. The weapon was completely legal. Wisconsin law states this, this, and this.
But with respect, like, who gives a shit, actually? The town was...
That's a great question. That's a great way to put it. Respectfully, who gives a shit?
Being burned by animals, by militia working for effectively the Biden campaign, and they're hurting people and running around with guns and setting things on fire and destroying an American city. Whether your gun was, quote, legal or not, isn't that kind of the least interesting question?
Absolutely, and it doesn't take away from my right to self-defense. The gun was completely legal, but if it wasn't, it doesn't mean I can't defend myself with it.
Well, he crossed state lines too. Don't you know it's illegal to travel freely in the U.S.? It's just not illegal to come in, or I'm sorry, it's just legal to come in illegally to the U.S.
Yeah. If it was a howitzer, who cares? Like, someone needs to defend civilization against the people who would destroy it.
Absolutely, and these were the people trying to kill me that I protected myself against. These are the people who chased me down. These are people who cornered me. There were people who pointed guns in my face and hit me with skateboards and rocks. These were people who were trying to kill me.
So there's been so much lying about what happened to you, but you're in this kind of amazing position where there's a contemporaneous video record of what happened. So anyone who's actually
all-angle video record as well
interested can watch, and I would strongly recommend that. It's one of the reasons I've wanted to champion your cause, because I watched the tape and it's just, there's kind of no denying what happened. At one point, and pardon my bad memory, there was a guy who stuck a gun right in your face.
Yes.
And that was also an illegal gun, but you didn't hear that, did you? You heard nothing about the convicted felon woman beater with the illegal gun, just Rittenhouse.
Legally, you're not allowed to do that. You didn't actually do anything to the guy, and he was about to shoot you with it. What's his name, and what happened? Was he ever charged for that?
Well, so Mr. Grosskreutz is the one who pointed the gun.
Gage Grosskreutz.
Yes, he's the one who pointed the gun in my face. He was lying about it, saying he didn't point a gun in my face, and then finally my attorney Corey Schrofsky was able to get that out in line of questioning during the trial. But he chased me down, asked where I was going, told him.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Am I misremembering this? I vividly recall watching the video of him pointing a gun in your face. That's on video.
Absolutely. During his testimony, though, my attorney had to send him down a line of questioning and literally show him the video and say, so you're pointing a gun at his face, essentially. And then he finally gave up and said yes.
See, Thomas. Also, the crossing state line thing is horse shit. I know the Kenosha area. He was very going next door. It's not like he traveled all the way from California like all the rioters scumfucks. Well, that's the thing, is that's what they don't talk about, is all the rioters were shipped in too.
Right. When they have the video of you doing it, it's kind of hard to deny it.
Absolutely.
When you were standing 3 to 5 feet from him with your arms up in the air, he never fired, right?
Correct.
It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him, with your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him, that he fired, right?
Correct.
I defended myself against him. I shot him in the bicep, disabling him from no longer being a threat to me. He's also suing me in the Eastern District of Wisconsin. I'm countersuing him for assault, but he's suing me with pretty much all the police officers in Wisconsin.
With all the police officers in Wisconsin?
Essentially, that's what it's like. I think it's like, I don't have an exact number.
What?
But it's more than 10. More than 10 police officers.
Oh, he's suing the police officers.
And me.
Yeah. So is his contention that you should be allowed to riot with a firearm and threaten to murder teenagers if you don't like their politics, or what is his argument?
Well,
I think that's kind of a stupid decision. You don't know his politics. You could have guessed, but yeah.
Conspired with the police to deprive him of his constitutional rights is his argument. What's funny about that is he actually doesn't mention in his complaint that he even had a gun.
Okay. I guess, I mean, that, it is ridiculous. It's maybe not the most ridiculous civil suit filed recently. Most of them are ridiculous, as you know. My question is about law enforcement, though. Like, why wasn't he arrested for that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because he was the right guy.
I don't know why he wasn't arrested. He didn't tell the police that he had a gun. His story changed several times, according to the police.
Correct politics, two-tier justice system. We all know the answer to this.
Police reports, and it's on video that he chased me down and put a gun in my face.
Right. So, but if I did that to some left-winger, which of course I would not do, but if I saw someone I didn't like him and I just went up and pointed a gun in his face, I'm pretty confident I'd be arrested for that. Like, how could he not be arrested for that?
I have no idea.
Well, do you remember when, I think it was San Fran, the guy literally executed a Trump supporter? So, of course, Vice News, being the scumfucks they are now, went and interviewed him, but then he got captured, and they called it a lynching, or some shit like that.
Yeah, I think it had to do with politics.
So, I want to get to what your life has been like since that day in August of 2020, but I have to ask, has it ever occurred to you, so you're 17 years old at the time, literally a child, and from a working class background, for sure, you've worked all through high school, you have no privilege whatsoever, and you're a kid. And this town starts burning because the militia show up to burn it. And like, where are the men? Why does it fall to you to do this? Like, where are the men of Kenosha? Why aren't they standing outside their homes and businesses?
You know why. I know why.
With firearms to defend their property, their families. Why have a teenager do it?
Well, I know there were a lot of people out there that night who were protecting businesses.
Well, the city burned, so not that many, I guess.
Yeah. Law enforcement was not really doing anything. It honestly should have been up to the government. I know President Trump said, hey, I'm willing to send in the National Guard. Governor Evers, just say the word. Governor Evers pretty much denied. And then when the National Guard finally did get deployed,
because they want the rioting to happen,
they were just surrounding the courthouse and the police station. They weren't going out and making arrests or arresting the people who were burning Kenosha down.
But I mean, your people are still scolding you for not being willing to be murdered, for defending yourself. But, Tony Evers is still the governor of Wisconsin, and he allowed his cities to burn because he didn't like Trump or something. And the police fell down on the job and didn't do their sacred duty to protect life and property of the public.
Well, the police force is completely different now. We do not have the same police force that we had 5 years ago.
A servant who pays their salaries. I've never heard anybody say a word about that.
No, it's just something you don't hear talking about. You just hear them saying 17-year-old vigilante, 17-year-old white supremacist, and a bunch of other slurs, which I talk a lot about in my book, which is available for pre-order at rittenhousebook.com, where I go more into the story. But they smear a 17-year-old kid at the time, saying I was all these bad things because I was attacked and I defended myself, and it's on video.
Uvalde, yeah.
Yeah, it's, you got to kind of wonder, though, do the people who allowed their city to be burned when they could have stopped it, I mean, a credible show of force stops craziness. These are not, Antifa are not heroes. They're cowards, of course. They were literally wearing masks over their faces. That's how cowardly they are. If someone had showed up with a 12-gauge shotgun and just charged it in the air a couple times, they'd run away. Like, do people feel shame for not doing that? Like, how could you not defend your own city?
I have no idea. That's a great question. I wish I did know. I wish I did know why they didn't do anything. I wish they would have stood up, and I would never have been put into the situation to where I was attacked and I had to protect myself, but I don't know why they didn't.
The other thing, and I hate to pick all these wounds. I'm a wound picker, but you used a firearm to defend your own life, okay?
That's illegal.
So it turns out we actually have a fairly well-funded organization in this country designed to support you, and that principle, which is foundational, self-defense. We don't have rights without that. And it's called the National Rifle Association. And I just want to ask you point blank, how much help did you receive from the NRA?
I didn't receive any help from the
NRA cucks don't support NRA ever, period.
NRA. I know people who work with the NRA and they don't want to touch my case. They don't want to help with the civil lawsuits. They didn't want to help with the criminal lawsuits.
How could, and I don't, this is so inside it that I don't want to spend too much.
Whatever anyone thinks of the Proud Boys, I remember police would protect Antifa every time there was a punch-up. And why do you think? This is exactly why I say we have to yeet the commies. And if you want to help yeet the commies, you can throw whatever you want to into the Streamlabs down below to get rid of the fuckers.
Chime on it, but I just got to be, like, how could that be? How could the NRA, which has taken money from its members for 100 years, exactly for moments like this, how could they not help you?
I have no idea. One of the organizations that did step up and help me is the National Association for Gun Rights. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they really helped with my legal bills, and they helped pay some of the bills that I was facing because my family wasn't able to work. They really stepped up to the plate, and they're continuing to help me to this day with some of my legal fees that I'm facing with a little bit of that.
I'm glad someone's helping you. One of the saddest parts of your story, I remember this very well, is your desire was to go to college. You know,
that ain't happening.
I doubt everyone in your family went to college. You want to go to college, you're excited about going to college, and you, from my read, you couldn't go to college because of this.
Absolutely, and hopefully in the future I'm able to go to college, but right now I'm just working a 9-to-5 job, trying to pay rent and trying to live out a normal life as possible. I know that's difficult right now because I'm doing all this media to talk about my book and to talk about these civil lawsuits that I'm facing, but I hope 5-10 years down the road, maybe even less than that, I'm able to go and get an education. I'm able to go to school and catch up. And
is it weird to see, say, the leaders of BLM, who are, at least in some sense, responsible for these riots, get rich and get all this money from corporate America?
Buy large mansions.
America and have 9 houses and become literally millionaires for not doing anything other than destroy things. Is that a little... Is that painful for you to see that?
It's a little weird. It is a little weird to see that. It's essentially getting rewarded for violence.
Yes.
And if you want to get rewarded for violence, thank you, Kyle, for that good setup. You can hit up the Streamlabs down below for any one of the violence.
I don't know how that can be okay. And I don't know how people can donate to causes that they know are going towards buying bricks and billy clubs to bash windows and throw at police officers. That's where a lot of the money goes. They go towards inciting violence.
So it's been 3 years since we've had these kinds of riots because that was an election year. We're moving into an election year. Do you think the many people, I think it's the majority of the country, who hated that, hate riots, like torch Wendy's, how does that help anybody?
Ooh, Wendy's sounds good though.
The murders, the many murders that took place during those riots. Do you think they think that those are the last riots we're going to have?
Looney Lenny for the $5. I'm playing through The Witcher 3 for the first time and just finished the main objective in Valine. I'm now exploring the rest of the region. Did you get the DLCs? Because I wholeheartedly recommend both DLCs. Witcher 3 is probably my favorite game I've ever played. It's so fucking good. Thank you, Looney Lenny. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And C. Thomas for 3. In a just world, Rittenhouse would have been left alone and given compensation for his troubles. The commie he shot would be in prison for his illegal gun. BLM would have been demonized and defunded, and its founder in prison for fraud. You would think that is just, but apparently not when it's the Democrats, because we have to be honest about what it was at the end of the day. It was the Biden administration's activist wing. That's exactly what BLM was. So that's why they were allowed to get away with whatever they wanted. Just like you guys are allowing Ravon to get away with being stream boss.
I think there'll be riots again. I think especially with the election season coming up, the Israel-Hamas.
I don't know if we're going to see riots again, honestly. I'm not super sold on that because they want to make Biden look as good as they possibly can. So they're not going to let riots happen under President Biden. I don't see that happening.
War.
Yeah.
I think there'll be more Palestinian because there's a lot of protests with the...
Most of the riots and protests were terraformed. They were made to be as bad as they were. But they want Biden to look as good as possible, so there's probably not going to be riots like that.
Palestinians sparking up right now,
Yes.
I think those are going to turn into riots. And that's just my personal belief.
Well, that is happening. That is currently happening.
I think it's going to spark up the closer we get to an election.
How does gun control land with you now when you hear politicians say, only our bodyguards, only we should have guns, you're not allowed to have guns? As someone who's actually used a gun to defend his own life, how does that...
Well, our founding fathers were very intentional when they wrote the Constitution. Second Amendment's absolute. We have a right to defend ourselves. We have a right to own firearms. And people talk about, oh, weapons of war, that big, scary AR-15. But people don't realize the
Love my AR.
Constitution, the Second Amendment, it indicates 4 weapons of war.
Right.
It's not just like, oh, I'm going to have a musket. No, they knew we were going to evolve. They knew that there are going to be different types of weapons. They wrote that so we have the ability to protect ourselves.
Right. And by the way, if you're waging war on the population, maybe they want weapons of war. Maybe they need them, like, because clearly they are. They burn your cities? I mean, what is that?
That is war.
Yeah, I have no idea what I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to strip away the rights of citizens. Like, oh, we're just going to compromise 10 rounds. That's all you need. It's like, we're just going to take your 30 round magazines, your standard capacity AR-15 mags. We're going to take your pistol braces. And then it goes from, we're going to take the AR-15s. You don't really need one. And then we're going to take your shotguns.
Of course.
And then we're going to take your pistols, and you're left defenseless. You're left to not put food on the table for your family because there's a lot of hunters. I know you're a big hunter.
Yes.
A lot of people, they go out, and it's deer season in Texas right now, rifle season. A lot of people go out and they hunt and get their tag limit for their deer, and they feed their family throughout the year with what they hunt and harvest.
Yeah, chemical-free meat. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, so what is your...
Well, that's why they don't like hunting.
You're in Texas, it sounds like most of the time. What kind of response do you get from people?
I get a lot of side eyes.
What's a side eye?
I'll be sitting in a restaurant, and then people will just be like, start staring at me, and then they'll pull out their phone, and they'll just try to sneak pictures of me.
Yes.
Sometimes...
Has that improved your table manners or no?
No, it's definitely worse because sometimes I'll pull out my phone and I'll act like I'm taking a picture of them. Really not. I'm just checking social media, going on X or something. But I'll act like I'm taking a picture of them, be like, how do you like it?
Yeah, people wouldn't like that.
Exactly. There's been a lot of support. Walking into your studio today, there was actually a gentleman who asked to take a picture with me. I'm not going to say where you're at because I know you're concerned for your safety as well because there's a lot of crazy people out there.
There are.
But very nice gentleman asked if he can take a picture. He recognized me from our first interview. He saw us where we filmed that.
Do you get that a lot?
Absolutely. I get a lot of support. Yesterday I was at my hotel. I was carrying in a meatball marinara sub from Subway.
Good for you.
Delicious.
Those are... I'm hungry.
And somebody stopped, and I declined a picture at first because I didn't look great.
Oh, come on now.
Yeah. Well, not everybody can be Tucker Carlson.
Right.
But I was like, no, I'm sorry, because I was starving, but ended up having like a 20-minute conversation with them and took a picture with them. They played with my dog, Milo, and nice people. There's a lot of nice people out there that are very supportive and want to take a picture, and that's just a glimpse of what my life is like.
Well, that's great. There was, in the exchange that you had recently in an interview that you just did, the one that I referred to earlier, that I did feel scolding you for living. But there was...
That's exactly what happened, Zach.
There's one point that is actually a fair question, which is like, what did that... I mean, you defended yourself. I think every man in that position would do the same, I hope. But it's got to come at a cost to you. I mean, that's a lot of violence. That's a lot of drama for a 17-year-old. Like, how did that affect you, actually?
Well, I have PTSD. There's times where I wake up in the middle of the night with nightmares or sweating because I'm thinking about what happened.
Yes.
It's not an easy thing to deal with. It's something I go through every single day. It's
really?
Something that has kind of consumed my life.
Try the boss number 6 if you like a meatball sub. I will. Thank you.
life with having to get over that trauma, which I'm still working on.
I believe it. I mean, I would liken it to, you know, I'm sure you've known people, I certainly have, who've taken life in war, and no one comes up to them and says, you know, how dare you shoot someone and, you know, who's trying to kill you. Everyone understands that that's allowed, necessary, but it doesn't mean it's not hard on you.
No, absolutely. It's something very difficult. I talked about my dog a little bit ago, Milo.
Yes.
He's my service dog, and he's helped me through a lot. I actually dedicated my book to him.
Oh.
I wrote an entire chapter about him.
What kind of dog?
I feel like I could write a book about Eve, honestly.
He's a golden retriever.
And why has that been, flesh it out if you don't mind, why has that been important to have a dog?
Well, sometimes you just feel very alone.
Yes.
Sometimes, like, you just need to de-wind, and
unwind.
He knows, like, if I'm not waking up from a nightmare and he knows I'm having a bad dream, he'll, like, physically wake me up, and he'll just be there for me. And
even shit like this makes me happy that we did the little fundraiser for the doggy dogs.
Support me in a way, and dogs are non-judgmental. They're
Yes, they
amazing
are.
creatures, and that is the one person I know without a doubt I can always count on, and I can always trust, and I know he's never going to let me down.
And you really feel that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel that too. No, I think you're 100% right. So do you, I mean, I could talk about dogs for hours, but but do you actually think, like, watching your life since you've gotten this dog, do you think your life has improved?
I think it's helped me in many aspects of my life, especially the therapeutic part of training him.
He says especially.
Yes.
Seeing the dog's ability of what those dogs are capable of.
Yes.
It's very therapeutic.
Yeah, dogs are smarter than we think. In fact, if a dog does something wrong, it's your fault.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's totally right. So what's your plan long term? You haven't been able to do what you want. You said you want to be a fireman, EMT, possibly a cop, then you want to go to college. All of those have been denied you, at least to this point. So what are you thinking going forward?
Well, I know I want to get an education. I'm very far behind in my education. I'm not where I want to be or should be at my age. I want to catch up to my peer group, maybe through some tutoring, and then go to college and get an education when this whole ordeal of I'm going on media and when I'm done promoting the book is over. That's my goal.
Do you think you'll be able to?
One can only pray.
Yeah. Has it changed? I don't know. Were you religious growing up?
Not very religious. I'm still working on getting closer with God. It's something I definitely want to grow.
All right, skip religion talk.
With me and to learn in a religious aspect.
Maybe I was just in the wrong place, probably. But do you, it's interesting that you are at 20, and do you think that's because of what happened?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I felt God with me during Be With You religion.
I'm not, calling for vindictiveness or anything like that. However, I do think it's worth knowing the people who supported you, who have supported you over the last 3 years, and the people who have attacked you.
Never mind.
Who would you say your biggest supporters have been, and who have your biggest detractors been? Because everyone else should probably know that.
My biggest supporters have been Christians. Those have been my biggest supporters, and mostly a lot of people on the conservative side of things, the constitutionalist, people who believe in the rule of law. My biggest critics have been really people who don't really have like a sense of what's going on. They'll be like reporters from left-leaning news companies. Those have been my biggest critics, and people have read that.
Liberal reporters have been your biggest critics.
I would say so. And then what they write goes into other people's heads, which I would say most of America is independent, slightly left-leaning, slightly right-leaning.
Right.
That's most of America.
I think that's right.
Everyday people.
Yeah.
And they believe in the Constitution, and they just want to see a good country.
Yes.
But then you have left-leaning reporters.
JROTC, I think he's a little old. He would have to just go into the regular fucking military.
Who villainize.
Fuck, I dozed off and I'm still standing. You are still standing. That is true. You got about $70 worth of HP. Hey, man, maybe no one wants to take you out.
Me and say all these false things to where everyday people sometimes believe that.
Yes. Who do you think long-term has been worse for the country, Antifa or liberal reporters?
Liberal reporters.
Yeah.
Liberal reporters essentially encouraged Antifa and enabled them to a sense.
That is a fucking fact.
We saw CNN, the one reporter said mostly peaceful but fiery protest. What is a mostly peaceful but fiery protest? That's not a peaceful protest.
No.
That's mass arson.
Yes, and that's obviously a lie, but then it's not an ordinary lie. It's a lie that abets evil, that allows evil things to happen, violence to happen.
Absolutely.
Kind of tells you a lot. So since you're one of the only people in this whole country who fought back against Antifa very effectively, are you worried about your safety?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There are times where I don't want to leave my apartment because I'm like, I have stalkers, I have people who harass.
I can wholeheartedly believe that he's got stalkers and people who would be willing to take him out as revenge.
I mean, I get constant death threats on social media, and I'm scared, like, hey, what if one of these death threats are legit? What if this person is going to try to kill me? I had somebody follow me with a drone. I had somebody show up at my apartment, and it's just scary to think, like, hey, these are people that want to kill me.
Someone followed you with a drone?
Yes. Yes, there's a very interesting thing. I got a message. I saw a drone, and it was following me at the dog park with my dog. And I look up. I took a picture of it. I'll show you after. And I was like, wow, this is weird. We're not really supposed to have drones in this area. And then I got a text 2 days later from somebody on Twitter say, I'm coming for you. I'm going to kill you. Do you see any drones flying over your apartment lately or your house? And I was just like, okay.
So what did you do with that?
I alerted the authorities, and I can't comment much on that, but they are looking into this stuff.
Big picture, do you feel like the authorities, law enforcement, has been sympathetic to you and trying to keep you from being killed?
I think so.
You don't sound too certain.
I think they've been helpful to an extent, as much as they're able to, because a lot of these people are very hard to track down.
Yes.
And with it being active, I can't comment on it much.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's interesting, you're the second person. We just interviewed Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they've been trying to kill her at her house, kill her by swatting her.
Literal.
For years, and she did not sound confident that law enforcement was doing its best to protect her.
I see that a lot with a lot of politicians and public figures. Is I think sometimes law enforcement may be scared, like, oh, if we protect them, we're going to get scrutinized, they're going to sue us, or they're going to pull our funding, or they're going to label us far right.
Yes.
And we're just going to have riots and protests in our area, and I don't think they want that.
Have any politicians come out, tell us who they are, who have come out to support you by name?
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very supportive of me. Congressman Massey has been very supportive.
Well, we know these people hate MTG anyway.
Supportive. There was a lot of politicians who wouldn't support me until after the trial. They would wait until a verdict was read. I'm not going to list those politicians' names because I'm still pretty good friends with them and I still talk to them.
Yes.
But there were definitely people who wanted to wait until a verdict out of political pressure that they'll lose voters or constituents if they come out strong support of me.
But the two you can name who watched the video, and again, anyone who hasn't ought to, because it's very obvious what happened. It's the video record, shot from a lot of different angles by a bunch of different people, so it's not, it's not fake. But the two
I agree, Darthgeist.
You can name who supported you from the beginning were Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That's correct.
I mean, there are 435 of them, but only two.
Only two that I can name off the top of my head.
Since you're one of the very few people who's actually seen what this kind of violence looks like, and they tried to murder you, are you concerned that we're coming in for more of this?
I can definitely see in the future that more of this will play out, more of this will happen, especially if the politicians who are running this country are still in office and they continue to enable it and they continue to encourage violence, encourage rioting. I could definitely see more riots and more violence in the future.
Have you had any contact with Antifa since that day?
Outside of my trial and once in Denver, Colorado, no.
Do you find it weird that there's a group with a name and, a presence on social media, Antifa, however we're pronouncing it, and they're a militia, they're an organized group, far bigger than the Proud Boys or whatever kind of fake threat they're telling us exists. Those guys are all in jail. But there's this group, and no one's done anything to find out who they are, where's the money coming from, no one's been indicted. They're just...
Because it's not going to happen. These people have successfully gotten away with it.
Free to kind of hurt people and wreck our cities. Is that weird to you?
It's very weird, and I don't think it would be very difficult to track them down. Look where the finances are going. Look who's donating to these things.
Right.
I mean, they do tax audits all the time.
But why aren't they a designated terror organization? Because unlike the Proud Boys, the January 6th prisoners, they actually killed a bunch of people and
got away with
destroyed a bunch of cities. So it wouldn't be too hard to spend some time finding out who they are, but we've spent none that I know of. Do you know differently?
I think I've seen maybe a handful of them get arrested, and they've been in conservative-run states like Texas or Florida. But other than that, I haven't seen any of them arrested for the January 6th because, believe it or not, there was Antifa January 6th.
I'm aware.
New York, haven't seen any of those. New York, you only see conservatives essentially being arrested for defending themselves. You see Daniel Penny, for instance, who was protecting the subway, and you see malicious prosecutions, but you don't see justified prosecutions of people who are burning these cities.
Because they get away with it. They're good.
It's all distressing. I do think that looking back when, people's brains clear, and hopefully it won't be too late at that point, what happened to you, your response to what happened to you, your trial, the aftermath, all of it will be seen as a really significant moment in American history. And I just hope that you're able to live a life fully in this country despite what happened.
Well, thank you, Tucker.
I appreciate it. Kyle Rittenhouse, great to see you, and congrats on the book.
Thank you, Tucker.
Indeed. All right. Well, that is that for now, guys. Thank you for coming and hanging out. Sorry, a little low energy. I'm going to try to eat something. I don't know. But we will reconvene tomorrow for the Sin and Sash stream at 3 o'clock, and then AAA probably at Palydubs at 5:30. Guys, thank you for coming and hanging out. Have a lovely evening, and I will see you all tomorrow. Later.